Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to a special episode of Lazio Lounge. We have plenty of things to talk about. The transfer market window closed last night at midnight. Lazio played yesterday against Cagliari, a very important game. Lazio won 2-1 against Cagliari. I think this is the 20th consecutive game Lazio doesn't lose against Cagliari, which is unbelievable. I'm joined by Alasdair McKenzie, who looks really tired. Did you play in the Six Nations, Alasdair, last Saturday? Because you looked knackered.
I didn't, but I felt like I did because it's always very stressful. But yeah, I don't know. Thanks for the nice way of introducing me. Always appreciated.
You're more than welcome, And from Denmark, Karsten Krogh, we have so many questions for you, Karsten. So get ready because, yesterday your man played probably one of his best game ever. And in the last month or so, I thought Gustav Isaksen is really performing well. In Rome, a lot of journalists have been complaining we should sell Isaksen. He's not good. In the last month or so, Isaksen has always been, if not the man of the match, one of the best players. And I have to be honest with you guys. Let's start from this. I don't agree with this decision of giving the man of the match to the guy who scores. I mean, Zaccagni played well yesterday, but I don't think he was the man of the match. I thought Rovella played much better than him, Isaksen as well. But Serie A gave the man of the match to Zaccagni just because he scored. I don't think it's fair. Alasdair, what do you want to say about that?
Well, he scored one and set up the other. I think it's pretty fair. No?
I don't know.
I mean, okay, the assist was a slightly strange assist, but he did mean to do it. I think it was actually quite a clever assist. But yeah, I know what you mean. It can be frustrating at times. No, I thought Zaccagni had a good game. I thought he just about deserved it. To be honest, I think a lot of players played pretty well. It was another quite, convincing might not quite be the word because there were still a few nervy moments in there, but it was another good, solid away win against a team we should beat, which is something that's kind of become a bit of a theme under Baroni this season, that we are managing to get those kind of results. The problems lie elsewhere. So to get 3 points, and again, at a time when that top four race is like every week, it feels like it's just getting closer and tighter and everything else. So to be able to, it's always awkward when the other teams play first and you see yourself move down the table before kickoff, and then you have to win to actually get back up there. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good performance, to be honest.
Karsten?
Yeah, I agree. I have some very interesting stats for you that I think are very, I think they're sort of topical for the game yesterday. So last season, Lazio created 3.4 chances a game. This season, they're creating almost 5.4 chances per game. And this is over not just one or two matches. These are like 20, 30, 40 matches. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think Lazio might be the most interesting team to watch in the Italian league at the moment, because they attack so much. They don't really defend that well because all they're trying to do is attack all the time. We're playing this 4-2-4. We're creating so many chances. Yesterday, I mean, Zaccagni misses a huge chance. Did you see the pass from Rovella, by the way?
Amazing.
Oh my God. I mean, in Denmark, we would call it a Michael Laudrup pass. Michael Laudrup was really, really good at making these little sneaky passes. And that pass is just so good. And usually Zaccagni is a really good finisher. But the man of the match yesterday was not from Lazio. It was Cagliari's goalkeeper. I mean, it was a great save. I think when Isaksen finished 5 minutes later, it was such a good finish by Isaksen. And another amazing save by Cagliari's goalkeeper. Lazio could easily have won that match 3-4-1, in my opinion. But the thing about Lazio is, and this is why I mentioned the statistics in the beginning, is that Lazio are creating so many chances this season. They are also giving a lot of chances away. But have you noticed that Lazio have gotten very good at beating smaller opposition? We're not very good with really good opposition, But we're playing very, very good against. We're doing really well. We're almost beating all the small teams.
Yes, and the funny thing is, we play better away rather than at home. I mean, last time we went at home, it was Lazio Bologna, I think, 3-0. After that, so it was mid-December. After that, we didn't win a single game. It's true that we have some difficult games against Atalanta, Inter, the Derby, and so on. But do you think it's because opposition play more attacking mind in the home game, so we have more space to attack them, or it's just a coincidence we're playing weaker team away and we're able to perform better? Karsten?
Yes, I think you're right about that. I think the fact that so the thing is, I think Lazio has a very quick team. We have some very, very quick people on the sides. Isaksen is very fast. Sakani is very fast. All our midfielders, our attacking midfielders, are very fast players. And the thing is that once you play against Fiorentina, which was just a disaster of a game. The thing is, when you're behind 2-0 after 20 minutes, Fiorentina can just sit really, really low the rest of the match. And once they do that, Lazio, they don't really have the equipment. They don't really have the tools to open up a very, very low defense. But when we play against somebody who opens up their defense a little bit, and I know, so Isaksen will have some space to run into. Sakanya will have space to run into. Nuno Tavares, when he's ready, is incredibly fast too. I think Lazio is a danger to just about everyone. But once they sit really, really low, the opposing team, Lazio has huge problems. We saw that against Roma. We saw it against Fiorentina. And the Fiorentina game, I know that Alasdair was saying it might have been the most important game of the season. And it's just a tragedy we lost that match. I mean, it's terrible.
Alasdair, yesterday Castellano scored. Karsten was mentioning against team that draw back, etc. We struggle a lot because Tati Castellano is not a player who sits in the penalty box and need the ball and score. He needs to move around. So I think that's one of the reasons. He scored 8 goals so far, 5 away and only 3 at home. Again, I don't think this is a coincidence, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I mean, the point I was making after the Fiorentina game was about this this problem that we've got in big games more than the home and away thing. But you could potentially kind of copy and paste the argument. I mean, it's really that idea of the lack of quality in attack. It's more of a quantity over quality approach, in the sense of what Karsten says about how many chances we're producing. That is great, but I think it's like we kind of need to do that to stand a chance, because we don't have attackers with that kind of lethal, clinical edge when they're in front of goals. So we actually need to be creating loads of chances to be able to just get ourselves into games. Problem is, like you alluded to, defensively, we're always going to give something away. And so against those big defenses, it is a problem. And I still think, like I was saying after Fiorentina, I still think it's something Baroni needs to tweak and adapt for big games, is how better to deal with that, because we're not going to get away with it in the same way. And, you know, yesterday, again, it's frustrating because it's just a corner kick and someone's been left completely unmarked. I mean, not just someone, but their most dangerous player probably at the back post. And that's that. And suddenly the game's wide open again. So, yeah, I think that is a problem. But then again, it's probably the best way Baroni can approach it with this squad, because if you're playing the way Sarri played and you're relying on being that clinical, which we were, because our actual XG in matches under Sarri was really, really low, because we weren't creating that many good chances, but we were just taking them all because we had Alberto or we had Immobile to finish them, or Anderson. So this is probably the right approach. It's just that I would like to see in those big games the approach being tweaked a little bit. I'm not too worried, to answer that question, Vittorio, about the home form, because I do think it is more down to the fixture list if you look at it. I mean, do you think there's something deeper going on there? But it's really surely just that run of matches we had.
Karsten, as we have you here with us, is this the Isaksen we all waited for? I mean, the last month or so, he played really, really well. He did he feel the pressure? There were a lot of rumors in December that he could be sold in January. After these rumors pop up, he played much better. Do you feel he felt the pressure, or do you feel, it's getting cold here in Rome? I feel a little bit like back in Denmark.
So I don't think Isaksen reads the news at all. I don't think he's on social media. I don't think that he's felt any pressure at all. And if you notice, it seems to me that Lazio's coach, that Baroni, really likes Gustav Isaksen. I mean, he has started just about every single Serie A game this season. I know that Isaksen is he's very good on when they practice on the training pitch. He always has really good numbers. He's very serious about his practice as well. I think he's gotten better and better. The only thing that I would say Isaksen misses a little bit, and that's very obvious, is he needs to score more goals. I mean, he hasn't scored enough goals. But if you look at the match yesterday, he's involved in both goals yesterday. The goalkeeper makes an incredible save to deny him his one goal. He scored the one goal we got against Napoli, the winning goal. The match against Real Sociedad, he basically got that guy a red card all by himself.
Yep.
And after that, he served up an assist to Tati Castellanos, I think, that even Alasdair could have scored on. I mean, it was. I haven't seen Alasdair play, but that was just the greatest assist. So after 55 minutes, he was subbed, and he had basically decided the game for Lazio.
Yeah,
so
I thought the game was over. That's why he got subbed.
Exactly. So he's been incredibly important for Lazio the last 2 months or so, and I think he's just getting better and better. I think the goals will come. He was so close yesterday.
Yeah.
He had a really good attempt a couple of weeks ago, a right foot attempt when we played. I think we drew against. Who did we draw against the 2-2 match?
Atalanta was 1-0, I think. 1-0.
Yeah.
Como probably.
Yeah, the Como match. He had a really good attempt with his right foot as well. And the Como goalkeeper had an incredible save there as well. So I think he's been a little bit unlucky that he hasn't scored more, but everything apart from the lack of goal scoring, I think Isaksen is better than he's ever been. And if you look at the other Lazio players, they look for him much more than they used to. Because 6 months ago, and with Sarri, everything was sort of going on the left side of Lazio's pitch. Like yesterday, both the goals came from the right side. It's like they're looking for Isaksen more. I mean, you guys see all the matches. Have you noticed that it's sort of like they're looking a little bit more for Isaksen now than they used to? That's my impression. I may be wrong.
Yeah, I think even Isai playing so well tends to play the ball there. But yesterday was a big day because the transfer market window closed. And for once, Lazio signed not 3 players, guys. What's your score overall of this window, this transfer market window, Alasdair? I know you're excited.
I can't believe it. Absolutely astonishing scenes. Look, it's kind of both, right? It's good. It's great that we've got the reinforcements. We got the centre back and the centre mid that we've been talking about the whole month. But I still just don't understand why it's taken until the final hours of the final day in order to do that, especially someone like Bellian, who I really rate. I think he's a very exciting talent, and he could do pretty well at Lazio. But that deal was always kind of there, and actually, it's almost more surprising that nobody else has picked him up in that time if Verona were willing to let him go for that kind of price. So yeah, I'm happy with the eventual outcome. I just wish we'd had these guys available sooner. We've just had to play a game with Mario Gila in midfield, for God's sake. And thankfully we got away with it because we did so well in Europe to start with. But it's crazy that we've ended up in this position. But yeah, ultimately, to end up with a centre-back, centre-mid and winger is good. They're all young, so that helps this general rebuilding of the squad. In terms of actual talent and so on, we've not seen Ibrahimovic still, so who knows? Bellian we do know a bit more about, which we can talk about, but it's this Danish kid that I think is the biggest unknown. Well, for 2 out of 3 of us, for sure. So this is where it's very useful having our Copenhagen correspondent to actually help us out about who the hell this guy is.
Yeah, should I talk a little bit about Oliver Provstgaard?
Yeah, that's your cue,
Yes,
Karsten.
please.
So it's a really difficult name for once. Provstgaard. It's impossible for anyone who isn't Danish to say that, right?
How should an Italian say it?
I mean, it's almost impossible, really. But Provstgaard, like Provstgaard or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so he's a big talent, obviously, because he's only 21. He's the captain of the Danish under 21 team. I would say, however, before we get too excited here, and I don't know him that well, but let me compare him to two players that you know really, really well. So Gustav Isaksen was the top scorer of the Danish Super League when Lazio got him, right? When Lazio got what was his name from FC Copenhagen, the defender?
Dennis Vavro, come on.
So Dennis Vavro was the best defender in the Danish league, from the best team in the Danish league. This guy is playing for the worst team in the Danish league, and he might not even be the best defender in that team. So what I'm saying is, and he's 21 years old, right? So what I'm saying is, I don't think that we should be disappointed if he doesn't play at all this season. I mean, he might be a prospect for next season, or maybe even somebody that is sort of an investment deal. I mean, I'm not sure about that, but this is a huge, huge step for him. So that's all I can really say. I don't know him that well. I'm just saying what Lazio has gotten from the Danish league the last 2 or 3 seasons have been the top of the league. And now they're not. This is not the top of the league. That doesn't mean he's a bad player.
Was because I did see the team he was playing for bottom of the league, but you can obviously still find good players in poor teams. But is he someone who's been talked about within Denmark as a future national team star and all that kind of stuff, or is this as unexpected in Denmark as it has been in Rome?
I think this is unexpected everywhere. If he was a huge talent, he wouldn't be playing for Vejle. I mean, he would be playing for FC Midtjylland. The Midtjylland is the second biggest team in Denmark, or he would be playing for Brøndby or FC Copenhagen. I think he's obviously a talent, but if he was a really big talent, he wouldn't be playing for Vejle because he's not that young anymore. If you're a huge talent, you don't play for a team like Vejle when you're 21, 22 years old. You play either for a top team in Denmark or you play in Holland or something like that, right?
Well, the thing about it is that yesterday and in the last 2 days when this name popped up from nothing, a lot of journalists said, well, he's from the same agency of Isaksen. Probably Lazio asked for help and they said, hey, I got the guy. I got this central defender. Come and get it. And this is probably what happened because he was never linked to us. So yeah,
he's probably not a bad investment, Vittorio. That's the thing as well. I mean, I think we have to look at these merchants from Lazio and everywhere else. They look at a player and they look at a piece of merchandise. And he's really young. If he doesn't work out in Lazio, they will be able to sell him on. He wasn't that expensive. I think it's a little bit of a chance that the Lazio is taking here. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Well, the thing is, and I want to hear your thoughts, guys. We are struggling there because let's not forget that yesterday we had only Gigot on the bench. Now on Sunday there's Monza. We don't know if Patrick is gonna be back. We don't know if Nuno Tavares or Lazzari Pellegrini or Isai, who got injured yesterday, are gonna be back. So there's a big chance that Hila could slide on the right. And then is Gigot playing and he's gonna be on the bench and it's gonna be the first option. So I think he has more chance to play, not to start, but to come in, rather than Ibrahimovic, for example. So I think number-wise, we needed him. And he looks like a little bit of a Gigot copy, very good with the header, big guy. I don't know if he's fast enough, but, that's what I think we're going to get for. And, let's cross fingers. He's 21. For Italian football, he's very young. For Denmark and English Premier League, he's old enough to play. But, I mean, looking what happened in the past from Lazio in the winter transfer, I won't complain of signing a player. I mean, last year we had the Champions League money and we didn't sign nobody. So I think this guy, it's an option after all, right?
Yeah, and he's a big guy. He is 194, so he'll be the biggest guy in the Lazio squad by far. We don't have a lot of really tall players. He's pretty comfortable on the ball, so he's not a bad football player as such. The problem is he's not that quick, and the thing about it is, if you're that big, it's very rare that you have a defender who's 194 centimeters and who's also quick.
Yeah.
And he is not that combination, and it's almost impossible. This is not, in other words, this is not Van Dijk or anything like that.
Karsten, we have a tricky question for you, and we hope you can answer it, because since yesterday we saw the Veil club show this video of Provstgaard with the Lazio shirt. So Isaksen yesterday before the game said, well, he was a Lazio fan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know if it's true? Do you know if Isaksen just translated bad what he wanted to say?
I think he is kind of a Lazio fan, because the video is a year old, and there's this tradition in Denmark that you wear a football shirt every Friday at work or at school or whatever. And I think that he did wear a Lazio shirt. So
Even
so I think that he might. Yeah, it might be correct. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Alasdair, do we think these three signings are enough to compete for the Champions League position? Because yes, we signed Belayan, who I think was a good signing. But if we look what Fiorentina did, I'm a little bit scared, without mentioning Juventus and Milan, etc., right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Milan have basically gone and signed a new team. But yeah, I think for the Champions League, I'm not sure. I mean, I never really expected this Lazio team to be in a Champions League, competition in the first place. So I'm not going to be devastated if they don't get there, because I think they're kind of punching above their weight a bit to be where they are, to be honest. That said, if they can somehow keep this team fit, because I do think if they can get that kind of starting 11 on the pitch as much as possible and actually feeling fresh, then they do have every chance. But as soon as that depth is tested, if that's what the question is, I'm still not sure the depth is really there. I am encouraged by Belayan, because I think that was the number one priority. That was the most needed reinforcement, was in central midfield, and the best signing of the three is a central mid. Now, my one concern with him really is the fact that he did kind of start the season really well, but he's since drifted out, and he's been on the bench a lot for Verona. And I don't know if that's just because Zanetti changed the way he was playing slightly. If Belayan is actually probably a player who I do have a feeling he's a player who will benefit more from being in a team like Lazio that attacks a lot and has the ball a lot, rather than a reactive team, a counter-attacking team. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not expecting him to necessarily come in and be, challenging for Ravella's shirt from the off, but I do think he is actually a very encouraging player, because we know what to expect from him. We know that he can cut it in Serie A. We know he's got potential to do better. We know Baroni's already worked with him. There's a lot of ticks in that box, and that's why I was saying my only frustration at the start of the podcast was that this for them to decide to sign him, because the option was clearly always there. I mean, we love signing people from Verona. It's like Lotito's favorite thing to do. So, yeah, I do. I'm encouraged in that sense that we finally got that part of the pitch covered.
As you asked for this, Alasdair, the reason why we signed him the 2nd of February instead of the 2nd of January is that on January they were asking 15 million euros, and 2 days ago we signed him for 9. So there's 6 million euro we save. That's all what Lotito wants, right? Saving money. So that's the reason. We lost a month, a very important month. We played against Fiorentina, Roma. We had 2 Europe League games, etc. So I don't know if we missed that many points that are going to make the difference at the end of the season. But it's just money. That's the reason why we signed him so late. Karsten, I want to hear your thoughts about Lazio transfer market window.
I think Belliani, Alasdair probably knows him better than I do. He looks the perfect package for Lazio, exactly what we need. I don't think he's as good as Rovella, but who the hell is? Nobody is. Guendouzi is excellent as well. Two of our best players are Rovella and Guendouzi, but they can't play every single minute of our games. And we will have to play, hopefully, many more games this season. We're still in the Coppa Italia. We are certainly in the Europa League, which we won, which is still amazing. I don't think we've even celebrated that we've actually won the first league. Let's put it that way, or the first stage of the Europa League. But we can't play with those two in the midfield, and the problem is Vicino is always injured. So we certainly need this guy. I hope he's a plug and player kind of guy. I hope that he can play right away, basically, because I think he's gonna get a lot of playing time this spring.
I think he can.
But I do think that, just like you do, Vittorio, that our defense, there are so many injuries right now in our defense. And I think that I saw Baroni say yesterday that none of these guys are ready to come back.
I think
which means that we only have like 4 people in the defense basically now.
Yeah, we only have 1 week. We weren't able to sell Basic. Big surprise. Do you think he's going to be back in the squad, as we sold Castrovilli, and now we don't know how long Isai will be out for injury, so he could be put out of the squad. Do you think putting back Basic is a good option, or it doesn't change nothing, as he was in January and didn't get a minute of play? Alasdair.
Yeah, I think if he's there, yes, use him, because there's absolutely no reason not to, unless he has to take up a spot occupied, but you say, if there's wiggle room to be able to get him in. I mean, this is the good thing about having signed all these under 22 players rather than older ones, is that they're not taking up spaces in the squad. Basic, we know he's not going to tear up trees, but we also know that he's probably going to be better there than Mario Gila is. I mean, can we just say that now, having watched Mario Gila in midfield for a match? So yeah, I think when that is the position of crisis in the squad, and you've got a guy who's a very experienced midfielder there, of course you should use him. The fullback positions are a big concern now, because over the last couple of weeks we've seen Guendouzi and Gila both playing as a right back because we've got no one left. And that seems bizarre, because we've got Maricic, Latsuri, Husai. It feels like you've actually started the season. That's not actually a poor squad building issue there. That's just bad luck. I mean, it's just really bad luck that all these people have fallen at the same time. It was always, this is something we've been talking about since the start of the season, and it's actually kind of amazing it's only taken until the last month or so for us to really feel it. It's really only been the last 3 or 4 weeks that we've been noticing with the selection and some of the real wild card positioning and stuff, the limits of the squad. But yeah, I mean, it isn't the same thing, Vittorio, we talk about so often, isn't it, in the market, where it's not just about the guys who are getting in, it's about the fact that the club is unable to secure deals for the guys who are trying to sell. And even Andre Anderson is still a Lazio player. I mean, and he's just having to play with the Primavera now, basically, and
he played for the Primavera. He scored the penalty and got injured after 10 minutes. Unbelievable. But I think his contract is due this summer, so hopefully we're going to get rid of him. We have a big question, though, the UEFA list, because you have to add Belayan, I think, but you have to take off someone. So if you want to bring in Belayan, who can be in the B list of the UEFA, you have to take someone out. Castrovilli was already out, so he's not leaving a spot. Rumors are we could take off Chauna, maybe Lazzari if he's out for a lot. Karsten, it's a difficult question, but what would you do? Would you add Belayan and Provstgaard? Would you keep only one? Who do you take off? I mean, it's complicated, right?
Yeah, is Hisai on the list?
Not yet,
because I'm afraid that Hisai will be out for a long time. I mean, he was sort of gripping his upper thigh yesterday. That's almost always at least a month, sometimes 2 months, and so the season will almost be over once he comes back. I would probably not put Provstgaard on that list. I don't think he has the level to play those kind of games. I mean, from now on in the Europa League, Lazio are going to face really, really serious opposition, really good teams. Yeah, I think maybe Chauna, because Isaksen is just never injured, really. He plays all the games. So hopefully he can keep on doing that. I think Chauna is a big talent.
Yeah.
He has a lot of speed. He reminds me of Leao sometimes, because of the way he moves, sort of the same way. But he also reminds me of Leao in the way that he frustrates me. He gives away a lot of balls and just makes really bad decisions sometimes,
Alasdair, you want to say it, and I don't agree with you, but go on.
Our potential European opponent list. Vittorio,
yep.
His head. Well, it's I was, watching with all these 18 matches happening simultaneously on the final day, and up to have this league table, it's like updating all the time with the potential opponents of every team and so on. And this flashed up early in the first half, and Roma scored that they would be one of the 4 teams on course to meet Lazio, and that was how it ended as well. So, yeah, they play Porto next, so they have to get through that first, and obviously that's not an easy tie. But then beyond that, it'll be what is it? Pilsen,
yes,
and Ferencváros. The only 2 options.
Much better.
Much better.
Much better.
It's not even just the idea of having a Rome derby in a European match, but it's also like that would then mean, because these ties would be in March, I think, so it would be derbies in January, March, and he'd be like dead of a cardiac arrest way before the April one.
Yeah.
I'm not reaching April. And there's another thing to point out. It's going to be a night derby, both of them. And the last night derby was a disaster. In fact, the Lazio home derby will be probably played at 12:30. So I don't know if there's going to be the authorization to play at night. So there could be a big option that the both European League derby would be played at 6:30. So my God, I don't really want to think about it. It would be a night. I would have to leave town.
And I also think that Roma is a really, really bad match for Lazio at the moment. The way that they play under Ranieri, they're so solid. They have such a solid team now. They like to stand back to basically be sitting very, very low in defense. And like we just said in the beginning of this podcast, Lazio is not very good at playing those teams. So, I mean, we've lost 2 derbies in a row. If we play Roma in the Europa Leagues, I mean, it's at least 50-50. I would even maybe give Roma a little bit of an edge, to be honest.
They're a good team, I think, because they're not just that organization and so on, but also the experience of the Mourinho era is still with them, I think, in terms of knowing the way to manage those two-legged ties. And they've done so much of that in the last few years, getting to the finals of 2 competitions. So.
And also Roma would be almost only gunning for the European titles because their Serie A title could be completely over in 1 month. I mean, it is over now. There's really nothing that they can reach. They're just too far behind to get to. Maybe they can get to 6th spot or 7th spot, but they can't get to the number 4.
No.
So when we meet them, if we meet them in a couple of months, Lazio will be, in a dogfight for the 4th place, hopefully at that moment, and Roma will be number 8 or 9, and they just won't care about the Serie A at all. So they'll be able to put out their best squads against Lazio every single match, and Lazio will have to sort of even it up a little bit.
Yeah, to be honest, even Porto is a good team. We won at the last second again against them, so it's very typical for us. We finally win the Europa League. We finished top, and we have probably the worst table ever. I mean, this is incredible. This is very Laziale, I would say. Only for us. I mean, next year, I don't know, maybe Borussia Dortmund will reach the 1st position, and then we play against a Crete team. I don't know, an Albanian team qualifying. If it's incredible, really, I struggle to believe it.
It depends on that draw, though, doesn't it? Because if it was Ferencváros or Pilsen, you would take that, wouldn't you? I mean, that's if you look at the being positive about it, I mean those seem like winnable ties, which are easier than many of the other ties we've already had in Europe.
So how does it work, Alasdair? What are the chances that we're going to face Roma or Porto, or Pilsner? And
I mean, if Roma qualify, it's 50-50 between them and the winner of that other tie, the Ferencváros Pilsen tie. So how it works is they'll basically play those playoff games this month, and then once they're over, they do a draw. But the draw is different now, in that each of the 8 teams that are already qualified know that it's between them and someone else. So Roma will either, if they win, they'll either play us or they'll play the second. I think it was
Atletico Madrid. Atletico Bilbao. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's hope we don't get Roma.
Yeah, and the other thing to add is that if we be picked in the left side of the draw, it's quite good, right? We only have Manchester United in the semi-final. The other team are quite weak, so that would be but I don't want to think about it. I'm already feeling the pressure and the anxiety. So let's change discussion.
Well, the funny thing is, Vittorio, can I mention that my other team, FC Midtjylland, they drew Real Sociedad, the team that we just beat a few weeks ago. So I suggested to them that they buy Gustav Isaksen really quickly, because he knows how to beat Real Sociedad.
Yeah, he had a terrific game against them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And also FC Midtjylland bought a midfielder from Verona.
Yeah.
That was sort of the substitute for the guy that we bought.
Yeah,
He was also a lot cheaper. He was only 3 million euros. So.
I wanted to text you yesterday because I think it's the first time they buy someone from Italy, right?
Yeah.
Usually the other way around.
Well, I think that they have a player, Eskilsson, used to play for Genova, I think. They have him on their squad, but he can't make the team at the moment. He doesn't play at all.
Wow.
Midtjylland has a strong team. They really do. Maybe the best team that they've ever had at the moment. It's not as good as Lazio's, obviously, but for a Danish team that isn't FC Copenhagen, it might be the best Danish team of all time.
Wow.
Player for player.
Yeah. Well, Alasdair, do we have something else to add? We are playing against Monza on Sunday, 3:00 kickoff. Finally, playing under the sun. Yeah, I know. It's exciting.
Well, we have to win that match, Vittorio. Yeah. I mean, there's no way out of it.
I mean, Monza is bottom of the table. They're losing every game. The only problem is, it already. Castrovilli is going to score, right?
Well, the last time we played a team that was doing really, really badly and in a horrible form, it was Fiorentina a few weeks ago. So
and Roma.
Yeah, I don't know. And Roma, yeah.
Well, they've got Akpa and Castrovilli in midfield, so.
Yeah, I think Akpa is injured though, so that would be only 1-0.
Yeah, I'm just glad that they sold Milan Djuric, because he's exactly the kind of player I get worried about in these games against bottom of the table teams. Especially having seen that corner last night. Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's the kind of game you have to win. The thing is, it's exactly the kind of game Lazio have been doing a good job of winning so far, like I was saying. So let's keep fingers crossed that they get a good result there, because it's Napoli beyond that. So we don't want to look too far ahead to that, but that's going to be a massive game. So they need to go into that with a bit of confidence.
Yeah, but I think the goal yesterday against Cagliari, I don't understand why, because Piccolo is such a good header of the ball. He might be one of the best in the entire league, and he jumped so high. Did you see how high he was how do you get Hysaj to mark this guy? Hysaj he's smaller than I am. Why don't you put Castellanos, who jumps really high? Why don't you put Romagnoli or somebody on this guy? Because this guy is a monster when he's in the air. And you get Hysaj, who's the smallest player we have on the pitch to mark him. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't like zone defense on corner kicks and free kicks, because you put a player in the zone, but you should be looking who is there. You put Romagnoli on the first post and there's nobody there, and then his eyes marking the most dangerous player. So I would like man-to-man on free kicks and corners, because you go on the best player, which Lazio didn't do yesterday. They had 2 corners in the second half, and they were both similar. And both times, Piccoli jumped over his eye, who's small, and created a huge opportunity. I mean, a little bit smarter in this in these things. Lazio should be very more careful. We concede so many goals that, you know.
How many goals have we conceded on the far post this season, Lazio?
Yeah,
it's like 50% of the goals.
Yeah, last time was Marusic who forgot his man. So, you know, it's very often, to be honest with you.
Well, the other one I was thinking about after the Braga game as well was the getting to the line, cut it back into the box. I mean, I remember us talking about at the start of the season, we just kept conceding the same goal over and over again. And then Fiorentina game and Braga game, the same thing happened all over. And we really miss Ravella in those moments, I think, because he's one of the only midfielders we got who seems to be able to defend that space and cover it, because the centre-backs get drawn in, and if you don't have diligent, you know, attackers tracking back, there's always space there. And we conceded so many goals that way as well. So at least we didn't concede one of them last night. That was one positive.
Yeah, I would say that on corner kicks, I think that Lazio are kind of vulnerable as well, because we're such a small team. I'm not a big fan of Basic. I don't think he's a great footballer. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But Basic is a big guy, and he's a strong guy. And if we had put Basic on Piccoli on that corner, I'm not sure that he would be able to do what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe put Basic on the European list. And let him play a little bit. But I know that he's not a great footballer. And Lazio plays very quickly. Everybody's very quick. He's not quick at all. But, I mean, sometimes you need a little bit of physicality on your team. And Lazio is just such a small team. We all know that.
Yeah, yeah. We increase a little bit with Shigo, but we need to do much better. Gila is a good header, but he's not that tall. So, yeah, that's one of our problems.
When will Patrick be back, Vittorio? Do you have any idea?
He should be back next week, but you know, with Patrick, it's always a mystery. He comes back and get injured again. So,
okay.
Alasdair, you're looking somewhere else, so I think we can wrap it up here. I know you're a busy man, you know. So, thanks, Karsten, for joining us. Thanks you for all your insight about the new Lazio signing. We hope to have you back again. Thanks to our Patreon. Thanks to supporting our podcast. Remember, if you want to support us, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. And we'll be back after Lazio Monza, a very, very important game. There's Napoli afterwards, there's Venezia, and then there are a lot of difficult matches. There's Inter, there's Milan. So we need 3 points on Sundays.
Yes, definitely. Thanks a lot for inviting me, Vittorio.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks, guys. Have a nice one. Take care.